And we're back for round number 3 of the modern PTQ on Magic Online with 5-color Valki. Here, we're on the draw, and we have a hand. It's kind of slow. No Force of Negation, no fast mana. We have 3 lands and a Cascade spell, but that's kind of about all we have. We have no interaction on turn 2, no Borrower, no Valki. I think I'm actually going to go ahead and mulligan this hand. On the draw, I think we can just do a lot better. I feel like almost any hand with a Mana Accelerant, whether it's a Spirit Guide or a Cavern, is going to be better. Almost any hand with a 2-mana interactive spell, Valki or Borrower, is going to be better. Even any hand with Force of Negation might be better, especially because we're on the draw, so I'm going to go ahead and ship that. And yeah, this qualifies as better. We still have, now we don't have a 3rd land to cast the Cascade spell, but we have interaction in the form of Force of Borrower. On the draw, down a card, I think I'm going to put back the Commandeer. And then if I have to fight, I can force Pitch to Fairy and also cast Borrower or something like that. So let's go ahead and do that. Shipping the Commandeer is kind of awkward if they're the mirror, but... Which, at this point in this format, I kind of assume that all of my opponents are playing the mirror. We'll see what they do. Yeah, most likely the mirror here. Okay. Let's play Delta. I want to hold up Brazen Borrower. Probably just going to be a lot of Drago for a while. I may try and jam to Fairy next turn. We'll see what I draw. I don't love doing that, but... See if they decide to jam. They might. If they jam, I'd probably just Borrower their Tybalt. And then if I find a blue card, maybe I just jam to Fairy, because then I can force into Outburst the turn after. Okay, looks like they're casting something. Hopefully it's not Teferi. It's a card I don't necessarily want to fight over. Obviously kind of have to. Okay, so we have a couple of options. I think we have to force this. We can either pitch to Fairy and jam a Tybalt, or we can pitch Borrower and jam it to Fairy. I actually kind of like that more. So I pitch Borrower, play to Fairy, they force play Tybalt, I play Tybalt, and we both have a Tybalt. If I pitch to Fairy, I Outburst. They force, they Tybalt with a mana up, and then if they have Dispute for Borrower, I just get completely owned. So I think I'm just going to pitch... It's really tough, but I think I'm supposed to pitch Borrower here. Not a great spot. I think I have to fight over that. Let's get Temur Triome. Does that change things? Not particularly. I assume they have Force, because I can't imagine they would have tapped out for Teferi without Force. I guess they could have Commandeer. That'd be bad. But I think Commandeer's bad no matter which card I cast. Because if I play this, they Commandeer the Tybalt. Now they have a Tybalt in play, and I have a Teferi, which doesn't really match up that well against an active Tybalt. Whereas if they Commandeer this, then I can't cast Tybalt. So it's bad for me either way, but... Alright, Force. They're playing the Uro version. I'm not a huge fan of Uro, especially in the mirror match. See what they go ahead and decide to do here. They may jam. They decided not to jam. So because I drew Flooded Strand for Mystic Sanctuary on Outburst, I think I'm actually okay fighting here. And I might as well do it now, because... Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play Flooded Strand and cast Violent Outburst. This kind of makes them at least have Mystical Dispute in the back of their mind. Like, if they hardcast Force, I can just Dispute. So they have to at least consider that as an option. They could also just have Brazen Borrower, but... Which it looks like they do. Alright, that's fine. We'll pass. That, I guess, is the downside of playing Flooded Strand this turn, is now I can't Valki into the Cascade spell. But I can just get Sanctuary. And hopefully they don't have much left going on. It's not clear that they have a Cascade spell or they don't, because even if they did, they probably would rather hold up Borrower that turn. We're kind of in a spot where we pretty much just have to jam it. We don't really have a choice. Our leftovers are not nearly that good. Omnath. Okay, that's fine. I don't particularly care about that. Now I might care about it. They have 2 cards left. Let's hope they don't have Force blue card again. That would be worst case scenario for us. They deciding to jam? They may be. Or they just want to cast the Borrower now, which actually makes a lot of sense, because if they cast the Borrower now, I have to Tibalt down tick on the Omnath, and they just get to kill my Tibalt. But I certainly can't let them have an Omnath, so I am going to do that. And then maybe their leftovers aren't that great, and we can just take over with an Omnath. Yeah, looks like they're just jamming this Borrower. Well, if their last 2 cards are Force blue card, we're never winning this game, but I think I like the way I played it. There is an option to pass and just Violent Outburst on their end step, but that leaves them with... Yeah, I can't really do that. Yeah, I mean, I'm resigning myself if they have Force blue card, but... I'll exile that. We are going to lose our Tibalt, but I think that's okay, because then we have an Omnath. Unless they have their own. Which they might. Looks like they don't. They could have a Dispute. Can't really afford to play around Dispute. I guess I could take a peek and see what they have. But I also could just... If I draw a land next turn, I could just hardcast this. So I think I'd rather just wait. I'll leave up the Black Source in case I draw a land off the Omnath. It's not bad. I'm not going to cast it, though, because I can just hardcast Tibalt next turn. Would have been awkward if they had another Borrower, because they could have bounced this back to their own hand, but... So now they're going to exile the Omnath. Then we can play ours and exile the Borrower. They have a Spirit Guide. This could get awkward. Which it looks like they don't, because they can Spirit Guide out the Omnath. Drew a Brazen Borrower. I mean, the unfortunate thing about Brazen Borrower is they can just recast this if they have a land next turn. So I think I'm just going to hardcast Tibalt and exile their Borrower. And they have Dispute here. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Or Force. Well, I don't know. I'm not really sure where this game went wrong. I think I played pretty well, but... I think a big part of this game was them having the Borrower. Maybe I was supposed to pitch the Teferi and just not even try to cast the Teferi the turn after. But in general, I prefer the Teferi before... Okay, we're going to concede. They're just going to Omnath into the Forest. In general, I like Teferiing before Tibalting. Because I think Teferi is usually higher impact. It's a card they just absolutely have to fight over. So let's do this. Same thing as last time. We're on the play, so we're going to cut a Caverns. One Ardent Plea. Hopefully Go gets a little bit better game too. These mirror matches are some of the least interesting. I mean, I don't know. Some of the games can be pretty interesting. But my opponent just drew a lot of Force Negations, and I only drew one. Okay. On the play. We have a one-lander with two Borrowers, but again, being a one-lander, I don't think we can really keep this. Sand is really bad. But again, like I don't think we can afford to go to 5. I think I have to keep this hand and just kind of suck it up. We have a turn 2 Valki. I'm just going to put back this, and we can just go. We can curve Valki into Outburst. This is a hand that just kind of has to jam. And I'd rather keep the Caverns because it's an untapped land. Just, yeah. I don't love this hand, but... Okay, Teferi's not horrible. Let's cast Valki. See what's going on over there. They just have double Spirit Guide Outbursts. Let's take a look. Oh, wow. Uro, huh? This is kind of tough. Because I could just take Uro. So what happens if I take Uro? And I get 2 shots at trying to find a blue card for Commandeer. Because if they just jam the Outburst, then I can Commandeer it. It's high upside. And I am down a card already, so... I think I'm just going to do that. The next one I can just fetch a land, make it an Uro, and then attack, draw a card. The reason why I really don't like Uro in this matchup, it's so bad against turn 2 Valki. So I assume they're going to go... I guess if they didn't draw a land, they might be incentivized to play this first, because if they play this and Valki and they don't draw a land, they won't be able to Outburst the turn after. If you find a blue card, I think we're in decent shape. Alright, so that signifies to me they didn't find a land. There's a blue card. Alright, I am still just going to get my free card off of this. Because this is just going to make them act. Kind of puts them in the squeeze a little bit, right? That's fine. Now we kind of just, you know, I think we're miles ahead now. If they go for a Tibalt, we can just commandeer it, and we have two more backup Tibalts. They're in the squeeze. They can lean on Valki and take Borrower, which means I won't necessarily be able to cast Commandeer, but I get 2 more looks at a blue card. And then if they do that, I can maybe just... We'll see what happens. So they're going to lean on Valki. Which kind of makes sense. But maybe they're just far enough behind that they have to just jam. But that's why I like making this play, is it kind of forces them to into a spot where they don't want to be. It forces them to maybe jam, and then we just, you know, blow them out with Commandeer. But it looks like they're going to Valki first. So they're playing a little patient, which makes sense. So they're going to take Borrower. Let me get 2 looks at a blue card. I'm going to play Breeding Pool, I would assume. Yep. And again, we kind of just have no reason to jam here. They may want to pay 2 life to hold up Dispute, but if they do that, this makes this a 2-turn clock, which is super awkward for them. They may just be resigned to the fact that they just can't beat a blue card off the top. So we're going to attack first, for sure. And I think we're just going to chill. Yeah, again, we're far enough ahead that we don't really have to do anything. We're miles ahead. We're ahead on mana. We have the same number of cards in hand. We're miles ahead on board. We just kind of have everything covered. And even if they go for Outburst, Hold Up Dispute, we can just pitch Commandeer and pay for Dispute, so... Not really a whole lot they can do here. And I mean, they know about the Commandeer too, so... But I just, what are they supposed to do about it? I guess if their last 2 cards are Simian Borrower, what they can do is they can put an Outburst in the stack, cast Tibalt, I Commandeer the Tibalt, and then they Borrower the Valki. But then I just have a Tibalt and they don't have much left. Yep, so they're going to do this. Their hand is Dispute, Force, 2 unknowns. Alright, we're going to Commandeer. That might prompt a concession. Again, unless they're... I would assume, unless their last 2 cards are Simian Borrower, that this is probably good enough. I guess they could have drawn their own Commandeer. Or they could Commandeer the Tibalt back. But then they're down to 1 card, and we just have our own Tibalt as well. And they have to minus theirs. Not sure what they're doing. Okay, looks like they did not find Borrower Simian. Okay, so on the draw we want the Caverns, and we want to cut the Seagate. I just want to make sure my blue count again is good. 15, 18, 24. Yeah, 24 is good enough. This hand is acceptable. Turn 1 Valki with Force Up is really where you want to be. I'm just going to pitch the Indoth Triome. So I have all untapped lands. Like, a lot of this matchup comes down to hidden information as well. So Just having a turn 1 Valki is such a huge advantage. Just knowing exactly what they have and what you need to play around. Especially if they have an Uro. Imagine if they just kept in Uro and I just get to snipe an Uro here. You know? Or an Omnath. I mean, if they want to Ardent Plea, I guess it's awkward because they pitch Simian Plea, I force pitch Plea, and then I don't have my own Plea. So maybe I'm just supposed to take Simian and just jam my own Tibalt next turn. Maybe that's better. Because if I take Omnath, they play Plea, I have to force pitch, then I just have nothing left, and I only have 3 mana, so I can't even make an Omnath next turn. Yeah, I think I have to take Simian. As awkward as it is, I really wanted to take that Omnath. If it was an Uro, I think I might have taken it over the Simian, but... I don't think I'm going to play around them drawing exactly... Oh. Well, that's a very good draw. Because now I get Teferi. Yeah, I'm going to Teferi here. I guess Teferiing is worse if they drew Dispute. But they only had 1 draw step. I think I'm going to go for it. See if they drew exactly Dispute. They did not. It's plus. Pass. Now they can't really do anything. I guess if they drew another Spirit Guide, they can play an Omnath, but then we just get the Jam Plea, and it's kind of easy mode from there. It's just going to be so hard for them to get out of this now. Again, this is kind of the lock. Teferi plus Tibalt is usually the lock. Alright, let's uptick our Tibalt. Again, we're doing all this before us in case we hit a land. We hit a Dispute, which is nuts. We'll attack for 3. Gotta make sure to plus my Tef. Yeah, now I don't ever see us losing this game. Can even dispute their Omnath. Not that the Omnath matters all that much with the Tibalt, but might as well. I will dispute Teferi. And now next turn we even have Hardcast Force up. Granted, they have Omnath, so they can Omnath into something, but... Well, actually, what we can do is... we're going to plus this first. I can even bounce my Valki and then let them have the Simian and just take the Omnath. Which I think I'm actually down to do. Let's attack first. Get our Exalted trigger. They go to 10. Because I don't care about the Simian. I think I'm down to just bounce this and take their Omnath. Play a fetch. Pass. So their hand is Plea, Dispute Simian. Yeah, that's not going to get them out of this. Alright, looks like we're about to be 2-1 here. Can even make Omnath, or make Valki into Omnath next turn. Kind of go off from there. Play fetch, crack 2 fetches. Yeah. Opponent has seen enough that the writing's on the wall at that point. Yeah, that was I definitely played this match a little bit better than the last match. My opponent also just did not draw very well. We got very lucky and drew the Teferi. They bricked on Dispute and then kind of just snowballed from there. So yeah, that was yet another mirror match. I'm sure that this won't be the last one, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you in just a little bit for round number 4.